So here we are in my garage. I'm just going to have a quick look through my new Bossnut Evo, which I bought over the weekend. Taken it up a couple of times. Just going to do a couple of little jobs. First of which I'm going to try and replace the post, fit an internal drop post to it. I'm also going to take off a little bit of twist on the brake line, which I found when I have ridden it a few times. And then also I'm just going to take you through a little bit more of the bike. So here she is, Bossnut Evo. Went for size XL, and it's all set up for me there. Quite a high seat, as you can see. I'm 6 foot tall, quite long legs, but I suspect this will fit riders shorter than me and taller than me too. So if we just look at the Evo, you can just see at the bottom here. I don't know if you can tell with my iPhone camera. See if I can find it. Anyway, underneath there somewhere. Oh yes, there we go. Just underneath is the black little grommet. That's where the internal seat post cable should go. The other job I was talking about is there's a little bit of twist here on the cable for the rear brake. So I'm going to try and adjust that, just take off that twist. I think it's putting a little bit more undue pressure. I'll also take you through what I've done to set up my suspension, setting up sag, just through videos I've got on the internet, mainly YouTube. And take you through that, and also just show you other parts of the bike in a second. Okay, so this is what I'm going to fit today. I've bought a Brand X Ascend dropper seat post. Bought it from Evans on a price match. Originally £125 of them, got it down to 109 through their price match, beating or matching wiggle and chain reaction. It's I believe Brand X is Evans' sort of in-house brand, or Chain Reaction Cycles in-house brand even, but it's obviously, this is unboxed. It's got cable, the cable sheath, and then the trigger mechanism for the handlebar. Let's see how we can get on and fit it. Okay, so here's what I've done so far. So you can see I've kind of mounted the lever there. I'll come back to that in a minute because I'm actually have to go take it off. I've got the cable and the cable sheath on, and I've routed it just loosely now underneath the bike, underneath the bottom bracket, and in through the little hole there, which I've taken out the grommet for, and as you see the cable sticking out. What I'm going to have to do now is remove the cable, or remove the lever end again, so I can properly route up the cable, fit the seat post, check the height, etc., and then come back to where we are. Okay, here we are again. So I've fed the cable up through the bike now. As you see, I've had to take off this because obviously the cable wouldn't be long enough. Once the whole seat post sits down, it's going to sit down right down here somewhere. So I need to look at the sizing in a minute. I've tightened off this little nut here, which holds the cable in place. A bit reluctant to cut this wire until I've had a look at sizing, so what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and curl it around, poke it down the seat post once I've got it in, look at the routing, try and mount the cable, see how much cable it needs. If I need to cut off any sheath, which will be the limiting factor, then I can do in a second. Okay, so here we are. So now, as you see, I've fitted my seat. It's not the stock one, it was just on my old bike, not anything light or trick really, it's just Madison Flux, but it's a nice comfortable seat for me. And I've mounted it so I've got a little bit of play. I probably wouldn't sit this high, but I just wanted to see how it looked, what it looked like. See the cables come out there. I haven't secured anything at the moment, I've just got it hanging down so I could see the routing. I've mounted the thing back. So, but what I've actually got is a bit of a problem. I don't know if you can tell. So I've actually got a little bit too much play in there, which means when I go to drop the post, just bear with me 1 second. So as I drop the post, it works. I let go of the cable, and it pops back up again. So I think what I need to do is go back inside, tweak up the cable a little bit, and make it a little bit tighter, and then see where we are from there. But size wise, pretty happy with it, it feels nice. We're just going to go and work with the cable again. Okay, so I've unmounted the lever at the bar, and I've pulled out the seat tube, and as you can probably see, hopefully you'll be able to see, let's go zoom in there, this little bit of play, that's more than enough, a little bit of play there, more than enough to make it not work. And actually with that bit of cable I was talking about, I could probably go ahead and cut that now. Now I've got the right length. Just one thing to be aware, if I won't be able to show you this, but the little grommet underneath where the cable goes in, the inside of that is actually pretty sharp. So when I was feeding the cable in and out, I was actually getting a bit of chafing. I've stripped a little bit of the sort of outer sheath of the plastic cable, so you just need to be careful and kind of feed that in once you're fitting the dropper post. So here we are, nearly finished. I've now done that little tweak, tightened up the cable at the bottom of the post there, mounted the bracket back on the handlebar. You see it works all the way down, and then also you can sort of just tweak it up to which height, and also go to full sort of height. I'll adjust that later because obviously that's sitting really far too high for me at the moment, but I can drop that last inch, and I think that'll make all the difference. One final thing to just show you, I need to go and finish the routing. I think I've got enough cable to play with, well, plenty of cable. If nothing else, maybe a little bit too much, but I'm not going to worry for the couple of inches. Just on the lever itself, I have to mount that quite far inboard because otherwise it starts to impinge on the brake. It doesn't fit inside either because it just doesn't work. But I think that's still going to be reasonably comfortable. It looks a little bit flimsy, perhaps, but I think that's one of the reviews of this make. So perhaps that can be replaced with an old shifter back, which is what a lot of people have done. But that's that fitted. So I'm just going to tidy up and then hopefully get to another part of my little plan this morning. Okay, so you do learn something new every day. Had to just remove this little screw, an 8mm jack, and actually this cable then spins round, which means you can take out any kink that you might have because it's twisted. So I've just kind of done that, which is really handy. It means I don't have to bleed them or anything. I'll just do this back up, tighten it up, and then put the sheath back on. I'm good to go. I'll do that in a second. I'll just take you through the rest of it. The last little bits are finished. Probably wise to invest in one of these little mud guards. Again, this is quite cheap, £10 jobber. With old cable ties holding it on. I did find when I've been riding it's been pretty wet the last few days, but it does flick up quite a lot of mud from those big tyres on the front. So I put one of those on. I've also got my own pedals, which are fitted for my old bike. Again, they're not particularly trick or anything like that, but they do the job. And lastly, I've also taken off this little bad boy from the bottom of the bike. So it's the old sort of cable guide for the front sprocket, front ring, and that was right underneath here. There's a little grub screw holding on. I've put the grub screw back because otherwise it's just another little hole to which you'll start getting lots of corruption in there. As you can see, I haven't quite finished the routing of the seat post, so I need to go and do that in a second, because I've got to go and find some cable ties. I'm sure I've got some in my shed somewhere. It's the final bit of little setup I've done on my bike. Is when I got it, screwed it all the way back to the rear shock, back to slow, so the little tortoise. Sit on the bike, what I found on the internet. There's a little rubber ring to push that to the top of the tube. I'm going to sit on it. Just take your full weight on it onto the seat, come back off slowly, and you want to set the air pressure, according to the internet sources, anywhere between sort of 25–30%. For me it's about sitting at 30%. For the front shock, do the same, wound off the lever right at the bottom of the fork, went for about 30%. It's a bit harder to work out that, so I actually just went for the manufacturer's settings. Pressure wise, I'm quite a heavy guy, as you can probably see. So I went for quite high pressure. It seems to work okay, and I'll probably fettle that as I go and do a bit more riding. As for the rebound on both, the central one, or the shock, I've just sent for, it's 10 clicks back to forward. So at the moment I've just gone for 5 clicks, very unscientific, and I'll see him play with that. As for the front, I've done it a bit more scientifically. What I was told was, if you wind it all the way back to tortoise, put the full pressure onto the bars and let go. As soon as you go 1 click each way until you get the tyre just jumping off the floor. Once it's jumping off the floor, wind it back 1, and apparently that's the right setting for rebound on the front fork. But apart from that, it's all good to go. It's pissing it down with rain outside, so that's always good. And I'll just show you the last little bits. I have now cable tied the cable for the seat post dropper all the way up. I've actually routed it to the right hand side here. That seems to be a bit more logical. Well, it seems to be neater anyway, not necessarily a lot more logical. That's all set up. As you can see, it is sitting quite far away, like I mentioned earlier, but I think you can still work it. I've taken off the reflectors, obviously, and the bell that come with the bike as standard. Same with the reflectors on the wheels and on the seat post. But it's all pretty much ready to go. So I'm looking forward to getting out, take it down to Swinley Forest probably in a couple of days once the weather gets a bit better.